So Donald Trump is out with another big fat lie about the 2024 election. Would you believe that? So he just wrote an X post on today, New Year's Eve. We just won a historic landslide and mandate from the American people, but Senate Democrats are organizing to improperly stall and delay the confirmation process of many of our great nominees. They will try all sorts of tricks starting very soon. Republicans must not allow them to do that. We have a country to run and many big problems to solve, mostly created by Democrats. Republicans, be smart and tough. So he started off that post by saying that he won a historic landslide and mandate. So there's two parts to that, the historic landslide thing and then the mandate thing. I've already talked and made a video about how Trump did not win a mandate. I've explained how his popular vote margin was actually very small, especially compared to others, and how that does not translate into a mandate, even if you grant that his electoral vote count was pretty darn good. It was decisive. He won all of the swing states. But now let's talk about his historic landslide that he alleges happened, but which in fact did not actually happen. The fact checkers have to go out here and explain how this was not a historic landslide. So when you use the word historic, you're bringing up other elections and talking about how this election compares to them. You're saying it compares very, very favorably to them. The only sense in which this election was historic is in the sense that it's the first time in 20 years in which the Republican presidential nominee has won the popular vote. Because believe it or not, Republicans were not very popular the past 20 years. So let's talk about how this compares to other presidential elections, and we'll see if this is really a historic landslide, because he said historic. So every single election for the past 100 years, going all the way back to 1924 when Calvin Coolidge was a Republican nominee, we can see that Trump's popular vote margin of victory was higher than 4 other winners of presidential elections. 4. So it's the 5th lowest margin of victory for the popular vote. 1.7%. He beat out Nixon at 0.7% in 1968. He beat out JFK at 0.2% in 1960. And he beat out George W. Bush in 2000. And he beat out Donald J. Trump himself in 2016, where he, of course, along with Bush, lost the popular vote. So every other election since 1924, the winner of the election has won by a greater margin than Trump won in 2024. Bring up that statistic whenever you see a right-winger, Republican, or even any general layman saying, well, yeah, Trump won in a landslide, so he gets to do whatever he wants. He's got a mandate, guys. He must really be popular. No, he's not popular. He won a decisive victory. A decisive victory that was not a landslide, nor one that grants him a mandate. For the record, I consider a landslide to be any election where they win over 400 electoral votes. That's like what happened with George H.W. Bush versus Michael Dukakis. Obama did not win in a landslide, even though he got over 350 electoral votes. But yeah, Trump did not win a landslide. And yeah, I mean, this is another one of those lies where it's like, he just says so many falsehoods all at once, so many confident falsehoods that people in the media can't bother to fact check them all. I mean, I certainly haven't fact checked everything that Trump has said, but when I see stuff like this, that's going to give people the wrong impression really badly and is unfortunately a pervasive belief on the right that, well, he just won a thumping mandate, as Piers Morgan said. No, he did not. No. Obviously, he did better than any Republican has done in the past 20 years. But in terms of how he compares to other presidential candidates, people who've won elections, he did not do all that well. And in fact, even though Hillary Clinton lost, her popular vote margin of victory was better than Trump's was in this election. Or I should say, she won by a greater number of votes than Trump beat Kamala Harris by. Clinton with roughly 65 million, Donald Trump with roughly 62 million. So no, this was not a mandate. This was not a landslide. Let's get that clear. We're going to see a lot of gaslighting in the coming years. And yeah, it's all that Democrats really are going to have to deal with. Obviously, there's going to be policy, but also they're going to deal with people citing Trump's electoral victory whenever they talk about problems with Trump, people are going to say, oh, he's still your president. You know that, right? He still won. And you just got to wait until 2026 and see if there can be any sort of referendum on this madness. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you in the next video. Have a happy new year and have a great night.